Chuck E. Chan.
Here comes Chuck E. Chan.
Martial arts expert of Reptile Land.
This is the top 10 worst movies of all time, decided by me, a lifelong fan of film. We'll start with number 10, Music from 2021, a film by Sia. This movie flew right under the radar as it's terrible. I'm not sure if it got a theatrical release. Almost no one saw this, even though it's quite noteworthy for being one of the worst movies ever made. It is clearly intended to be the movie that tugs at your heartstrings, maybe even Oscar bait, for being the autism movie. It seeks to be this and fails in ways that defy all logic. You can see they're the main characters. The girl in the headphones is not even really the main character, Music, but she's the sister of the main character, which is Kate Hudson's character, who moves back in with her autistic sister, Music, because their mother passes away. And the guy there is their neighbor in their apartment building who helps out and is the love interest of Kate Hudson. This movie is so terrible. There is so much to talk about, so much to cover. You'll see in the top middle and the top right, there is weird music video nonsense happening, and that's exactly what it is. Not what you'd think for a movie called Music. You'd think this movie's a musical. So breaking out into a music video, that almost makes sense. That's not really what this is. What this is the songs and dances are like half of the length of a song that would be in a musical. And they're also bland and don't really say anything. They contribute nothing and feel like they shouldn't be there. They were clearly made for the film, and I feel bad for the people involved. None of them are very good. They're just short and unsweet. And they're almost like, instead of transitions between scenes, you have these extremely unnecessary short music videos. Now, you'll see that John Ralphio's in the movie. He plays the drug lord that Kate Hudson deals drugs for. You'd think this would help the movie, and maybe it does, but it's like adding a sprinkle of sugar into a bucket of feces. It's not really gonna do anything. Now, you'll see they're in the park, and the neighbor is rizzing up Kate Hudson. They're building their romance. Now, you might notice the race of this character. What disease do you think he has? You probably guessed it right. Of course he has AIDS. So not only is this movie one of the worst representations of autism you could possibly imagine, but there is just weird stereotypes far beyond that. Now, the character with autism, Music, she's not the main character. She's basically used as a prop. She's just kind of there and is far too, I suppose, handicapped to really function very well. You see a scene where she pees herself. It's just bizarre because the film doesn't use it. It's just the film's not well made and doesn't really make any points. It's just kind of weird and goofy, but not in a funny way, not in a fun way. There's nothing entertaining about this. And one of the weirdest parts to me is this character you see in the top middle, the guy who's making a moose antlers or whatever. He looks quite young in this image, but in the actual scenes of the movie where they're in New York, he looks like he is he is 3 times older than the character Music, who he is stalking. He stalks her around while she goes to the library, doesn't talk to her, is just lurking around staring at her menacingly. And when she goes to bed, he lives in the apartment building across the street. He shines a flashlight through his window into her window, and she just lays there on the bed, kind of giggling, rolling around in her autism, and she is amused by this light. Somehow this flashlight makes its way all the way across the street. It doesn't make any sense. He wouldn't know that she's enjoying this. It's so bizarre and stalkery, and he's appears like he's 40 years old and her character's like 15. No part of this movie makes any sense, and we're only at number 10. So let's move on. Number 9, Pearl Harbor, 2001. Unlike the previous movie we talked about, Pearl Harbor did not fall under the radar. I feel like this is a movie that everyone saw and everyone hated. But over time, people forgot about it. You may be familiar that people used to hate Ben Affleck. Prior to him playing Batman, people hated him. And Ben Affleck is in some really good films. Even early on in his career, he is in some awesome films. He's in Good Will Hunting. He's in Dogma. He's in Mallrats. And people hated this guy. The way people feel about Jack Black right now, people felt about Ben Affleck. Now this movie, I don't even care that it's historically inaccurate. Like, yes, that's offensive, but whatever. It's not the most offensive thing. What really is offensive, what really is the tragedy here, is the filmmaking. Now, if the film was just what you see here with Cuba Gooding Jr., and it was just combat, no story, just an action-filled war movie, it would be awesome, right? It would be infinitely more entertaining, but instead you have this ridiculous love triangle between Ben Affleck, Josh Hartnett, and I can't remember her character's name at all, or any of the characters' names, honestly. And you see there's other, like, recognizable actors in this thing. It was one of those movies that just, blockbuster movies, it was successful. Like, people went and saw this. It is 3 hours long of just dull performances. You don't care about the love triangle. You don't care about Ben Affleck. You don't care about Josh Hartnett. You don't care about Cuba Gooding Jr. You don't care about Alec Baldwin. You don't care about anyone. Literally no one. An American tragedy. This is fundamentally interesting. But this film just doesn't develop the character. It's painful. It sucks. That's basically it. Number 8, Fan 4-Stick. 2015's attempt to, I don't know, make a Fantastic Four movie, but put no effort in, make them look unlike the Fantastic Four, suck all the color out of the Fantastic Four. Like, this team wears bright blue suits. That's what they're, like, known for. That's, like, an image that is iconic. But no, let's just go without that. Let's just have the characters mostly be sitting in a government building that they like makeshift into a lab. And that's almost the entire film. What the hell were they thinking here? This is hugely underrated for being one of the worst superhero films ever made. I'm going to mention in the honorable mentions at the end another really terrible, more recent superhero film, of which there's a lot lately that are very dull. But at least with a lot of modern superhero movies, at least they look good. This one's fugly. Like, look at Doctor Doom there. Why? Why? Oh my gosh. In The Thing. That's not The Thing, that's a random golem. That's like the cheap knockoff thing you buy at the secondhand store. Like, what is any of this? Just vomit. There's nothing interesting about this. So incredibly inferior to the other versions of the Fantastic Four. And there are also very crappy older superhero movies. Like, there's a really old Doctor Strange. There's a really old Captain America movie that, like, nobody saw. There's a unreleased Fantastic Four movie. If I'm thinking of the right... Was it Fantastic? I think it was. And people say that it was better than this. Because at least those old films from like the 60s and 70s, where they're just super low budget, at least I assume if you watch them, there's going to be at least some charm to like the time frame, like the era that they were in, and the actual limitations that they had. When a movie's actually like a big studio film where they're spending tens or hundreds of millions, probably more so tens of millions, on their CGI work, and it still looks like poop, that's kind of different than just some people with the camera without the help of a major studio in like the 60s, just making something because they like the property, right? The amount of resources and technology available, it's just so enormously different that you're going to get enjoyment out of something older. This deserves more credit for how shite it is. Number 7, Dragon Ball Evolution. A lot of people point to M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender as being a terrible nightmare of a film. But, oh my god, is it like a masterpiece compared to Dragon Ball Evolution. There's a lot of films out there where they get characters completely wrong, but I feel like this one does it better than everyone else. It gets, like, the world wrong. It gets every character wrong. It is shocking that this got made. That they didn't just, in, like, a couple of hours say, we gotta just make something different. Screw it. We can come up with something on the spot. We're gonna at least make the characters make sense. Like when you have Goku and Chi-Chi talking to each other, just ad-lib the lines right there and then. Just throw the script in the garbage like you should have. Just say, alright, we're gonna have it where I actually am gonna act like Goku. Where instead of me pursuing Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi's pursuing me, like in the manga, in the anime. How the characters actually behave. We're not just gonna flip everything on its head, where Goku all of a sudden cares about being cool, and he's this loner with a bit of edge. No, like he's not this like dork that gets picked on at school. Why would he ever go to school? He doesn't go to high school. What are you talking about? What, they put Goku in high school and he's like simping over Chi-Chi? Wow. Oh my god. And then what are these characters? Like, look at Bulma. Why are Bulma and Goku white, but Chi-Chi's Asian? And, like, a bunch of other characters are Asian. Where are they? Why is Yamcha older than Master Roshi? I can get past Piccolo looking like trash. But why does every character look like trash? Why does Bulma not have blue hair? Put her in a blue wig. Dye her hair blue. You can actually see there is, like, a strand of her hair that goes up to her name there. I had to put names by the characters because there's no other way you would be able to tell who the hell these people are. But if you look at right next to the name Bulma that I put there, there's a strand of hair that looks gray. It's like they dyed it blue, but it didn't really work. Because in one scene, it looks like a little hint of blue in there. But yeah, that's Bulma. What? Like, Bulma's supposed to be, like, fashionable, very womanly at this point in the story. Yeah, if this was Dragon Ball Super, not even Super, at some points in some stories Bulma could maybe wear something like this, right, if she's working real hard on some machines. But at most points in the story, no, this wouldn't even make sense. When is Yamcha ever not in martial arts clothes? When is Goku ever not in martial arts clothes? What is the point of any of this? Just insanity on so many levels. Number 6. This one is personal. Dragon Ball Evolution is personal, but this one is also very personal to me. Because this film, when I saw this, it shocked me to my core. Now, I had seen bad Star Wars films previous to this. But this film spat on the face of the entire franchise. And so many of its core characters. And even the characters, the newer characters, it just like demolishes for no reason. In the first one, you kind of had the sense that Finn maybe had some feelings for Rey. Well, that's gone, because now we introduced Rose, who's bland as could be, and we're not going to develop. But all of a sudden, Finn and Rose, they are going to be on a casino planet for a third of the movie, and we're going to follow them being chased, because we need a chase scene for like a third of the film. We got to fill it with something. Not only that, there's like this really slow pursuit going on, where Leia's ship is being pursued by the First Order ship, and both are going at the same speed through space. So it's the least interesting chase you've ever seen. Now, granted, Finn and Rose, their chase is longer and also very boring because you don't know these characters. You don't care about any of them. You wish the movie would be doing almost anything else, but at least there's some speed to the chase. They're going around an interesting place where there's all these like random aliens gambling, and then they're outside. They find these orphans. It's not good, but it's something. It's better than two ships slowly floating through space. Rey communicating with Kylo Ren and clearly on the route of teaming with Kylo Ren is probably the most interesting thing in the movie, but it's not really earned. We still don't really know Kylo Ren enough. We don't know Rey enough to really care, right? It's like, oh, well, they're cute. They're weird little back and forth talking through the Force. Their mental, FaceTime chat that they got going on through the Force. That's maybe they'll get together. Okay, sure. Leia flying through space like Superman. That came out of nowhere. Why can she do that? Why can no one else do that? That doesn't make any sense. What the hell is this? Screw it, we're not going to explain it. Who cares? Oh my god. And worst of all is Luke. What they do to Luke Skywalker here is so insane and unforgivable. The character who lost to Darth Vader, but said, screw it, I'm going back. I'm going for round 2. I'll take him the next time. And then wins. And then sees his father, the genocidal lunatic father, and takes mercy on him and decides, this guy, who I don't really know, but he's my father and he's committed all these insane atrocities and genocides, and I think I see good in him. I'm not going to give up on him. He can be helped. This guy, years later, trains his nephew, Kylo Ren. Kylo is turning to the dark side. So what me, Luke Skywalker, what I need to do is murder him in his sleep. And I'm going to I'm just going to stand over him like a moron while he sleeps, giving him the opportunity to see me trying to take him out and counter my attack. This, again, makes no sense at all, because Luke wouldn't give up on his own nephew this easily, or anyone else this easily. He wouldn't resort to this, ever. That's just not his character. He wouldn't do it in such a pathetic way to lose, to not get the drop on Kylo Ren. And also, Kylo Ren should not be able to counter Luke in any capacity. What? And then Luke, upon failing to take out Kylo Ren, goes to some random planet in the middle of nowhere and does nothing but be a hermit and drink weird alien milk. What the this film changed me. Changed my entire perception on film. Because if you can make something this bad and have this big of a budget, have one of the most successful commercial franchises in film history, something that people care about so deeply, go to a comic convention pretty much anywhere, you will see at least one Star Wars cosplay. And that's how it's been for decades. This fandom is enormous. This property is enormous. And they drop the ball so insanely. After watching this, I literally said, I could pick a random hobo off the street and give them 20 minutes to write a script, to just come up, not even write a script, but like come up with an idea of a Star Wars film. A quick plot, a general plot for a Star Wars film. Star Wars Episode 8. And it would be better than this. I'm like, hire me. Hire me. I will make you an infinitely better Star Wars film than this. Anyone could. Hire me. I'll spend 1/3 of the budget and give you a movie that is literally 100 times better than this film. What are you doing, Disney? Why'd you buy this franchise? Just to shovel out one of the worst films you could have possibly made. What lunatics at your company allowed this to happen? How could you even imagine to have this level of incompetence and carelessness with one of the biggest franchises in film history, where it literally takes a poop on the lore of every character. Wow. Like, it's almost an impressive feat of failure. When you, to make a film and just have access to these beloved characters that even though you butchered them in this film beyond all reason, people still love despite this. Most rational people just say that the Disney trilogy is just not even canon. It just didn't even actually happen. Because it's so stupid, you can't count it as actually being canon events. So yeah, love behind the franchise, of the fandom of the franchise, being one of the biggest fandoms in existence that there's ever been for anything. And to just not take the layup, and to make such crap, and to make the really long chase scene at the casino is one of the worst mistakes in a Star Wars film, but it's not the first time that a Star Wars film has made that exact mistake. Number 5. The Gallows from 2015. This is a found footage horror film. One that I saw in theaters. Now, I don't like found footage horror films. Some of them are okay. Cloverfield, Quarantine, not bad. Overall, I find them very cheesy, very lazy. They're just not scary. This one is that, but so much worse. So the characters you follow are in high school. Now, as you can see, they're played by people who look like they're older than high school, but that's kind of normal for films. That's not a big deal. The characters are all douchebags. Like, they're just jerks to each other, but not in a fun, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia type of way. Like, it's not played for comedy. Like, maybe there's one joke where it's like, oh, that's so offensive, I guess that's funny. But that's like one slight, not even a laugh, in the entire runtime of a movie. Now, it's mercifully short, right? It's far shorter than something like Pearl Harbor or a Star Wars film, but it is just pure crap. You can see there the bad guy, the hangman, super bland. Just movies loaded with shaky cam, just a crappy horror film, painfully unwatchable. And I think that's a factor of films that really goes underappreciated. Is if something, the entire viewing experience of a film is just really shitty shaky cam, you're not going to enjoy a single moment of watching the film. That should matter, right? And if none of the characters are the least bit interesting, entertaining, that matters. None of the kills in the film are good. Because it's shaky cam, so you don't even really see them. And they use camera tricks, right? Like, you can see here, this guy on the right is being like, part of the frame is just entirely in darkness. They overutilize darkness in the film, so it's just you just don't even see anything. Oh my god, just way undervalued for how shite it is. I'm using that word a lot this video, shite. Number 4. Joker 2 smells like you took a wild number 2. It's not a Joker movie, not a Harley Quinn movie. It's not even a superhero movie. Stars Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga as the Joker and Harley Quinn. Now, the first film, pretty good. Not bad. I think people who didn't like the first Joker, they just were expecting like a Heath Ledger Joker, an action-heavy superhero film, which Joker is not that. So I think it just caught some people off guard. But overall, people really liked it. Joker 2 is a miserable piece of crap. It is theorized by people that they were trying to make the worst movie that they could, that the movie is an insult, that they're directly insulting the fans of the first film, that the filmmakers and producers ultimately, right? Because it's not just like the writer and director are involved with the making of a film. Like, the star producers, the studio, have influence on this stuff. They can say no. They greenlit this pointless film. I'll run through the plot because it's a quick one. So the Joker in the first movie shoots Robert De Niro's character live on TV. Well, now he's in prison, and he's on trial. And when he's in prison, it's like a co-ed prison. I don't know if it's even supposed to be Arkham. It can't be. I don't... It's like they have this really generic prison set that you've seen in movies before. It's, lame. Super bland, super lame. They don't do anything with it anyway. And they have a courtroom set. And that's it. You bounce back and forth between this trial and the Joker basically being a loser in prison. But, like, nothing happens. It's not like any prison movie you've ever seen where stuff happens and there's interesting characters and plot. No, none of that. Just the entire plot is he's getting to know Harley Quinn. And it's not, like, actual Harley Quinn. It's nothing like the Harley Quinn character, so you don't care. You don't care if they get together or they don't get together. You don't care if he gets imprisoned or out of prison or anything that happens, because just nothing happens in the film. They also, when he meets Harley Quinn, it just seems too weird. Like it just wouldn't ever happen in this prison or anywhere. It has this level of fakeness. And then they even bring up that in the first one, that the Joker had like a fake relationship. In the first movie, with someone in his building, he thought he was dating this woman, but she turns out it was just in his head and she has no idea who he even is. So because of that, you can kind of tell that this Harley Quinn is entirely in his head. And you can tell that like immediately. Makes the Joker, this Arthur Fleck character, who already was a bit of an unreliable narrator, into an entirely unreliable narrator. And what he's narrating is one of the worst, most boring plots you'll ever see in a film. They only use these two sets. And there's just nothing even approaching entertainment in this film. It truly is epically, epically awful. Number 3. This might surprise you, but Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This film, I truly believe, is the worst in the entire franchise. Now, I have not seen Solo. And I'm not going to see Solo. But, oh my god, does this movie not get the credit that it deserves for being one of the worst films ever made. At the time, when it came out, people really wanted to like it. It had been a very long time since a Star Wars film had been released. They wanted to like it with all their heart. So, that kind of warped their mind when they saw it, to see the good in it. Now, by time that trilogy had concluded years later, people had kind of realized that it was nostalgia glasses, that it was them wanting to like it, them enjoying the experience of finally getting to go out and see a Star Wars film in the theater that had clouded their mind and made them enjoy something that was a complete pile of crap. And for many years, pretty well until the Disney trilogy came onto the scene, that they understood this, that this, along with Attack of the Clones, are two of the worst films ever made. It was always said that Episode 2 was the worst, but I don't believe that to be true. Episode 1 is completely horrible. Now, just like Episode 2, it has very boring dialogue. Insanely boring. But unlike Episode 2, it has scene after scene after scene developing characters in an incredibly uninteresting way, which is to not really develop the characters, introduce them but not develop them. You don't really have that in the second one. I find the second one a lot more actiony, because although the fight with Darth Maul in Episode 1 is interesting and dynamic and probably the best lightsaber fight in the entire franchise, there's nothing beyond that. There's some interesting travel here or there, but really the fighting scenes overall, I find, in Episode 2 to be a lot more interesting, a lot more entertaining. That's just the truth. Problem with Episode 1 is, yes, you have weird racial stereotype aliens, like that, like the Jewish guy You have Jar Jar Binks. Weird. Insane. Bizarre. Psychotic. You have this weird Senate, intergalactic Senate or whatever it is, where there's just this weird political gobbledygook you don't care about. Anything with the Jedi talking to each other at any point in the film is just painfully uninteresting. Outright, they just seem stupid and weak. Outside of the scene where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fight Darth Maul, outside of that, they're morons. Literally, the entire point of the film is, hey, this is a bad idea for us to train this Anakin guy. And these guys saying, hey, well, you know, I am a Jedi, so we're going to train him. Screw it, I vouch for him. Even though the other Jedi are like, no, don't do it. This is a terrible idea. And like us as the audience, we know it's a terrible idea. So we understand even more that they're being dumbasses, which is weird because you think you would be establishing these older Jedi characters as being like really smart. You'd think, right? But no. Another big problem, and probably the biggest problem with this film, is the pod race scene. So Anakin, if you don't know, becomes Darth Vader. So we know he's not going to pass away in this film. It wouldn't make any sense. Even if you didn't know he became Darth Vader, it wouldn't make any sense. There is like a third of this film is dedicated to Anakin going in this freaking CGI crap show of a race. Him preparing for it and him racing takes up a third of the runtime of the film. And it's a CGI mess. It felt kind of video game cutscene-y at its time. Like it wasn't, I don't know, I don't think it looked good even for the time, but it was okay. Right? It was passable. But it certainly doesn't stand up. And the scene doesn't stand up. Right? Like none of the other aliens that are racing do you care about. You don't care about Anakin, and you know he's not in any danger. So when you have these pod racers smashing their pods together, and this one smashes into a thing, and it's like, oh, well, he probably died. You know Anakin's fine, and you not only do you know that, but you know he's going to win the race. So when it takes up a third of the movie, it's painful. And I'm going to say it's even more painful Star Wars Episode 8 when you have Finn and Rose being chased around a casino planet for a third of the movie, because at least you don't know if Finn and Rose are going to be caught or if they're going to escape or what's going on with them. I mean, you still don't really care, but it's more interesting than some turd little boy winning a race you know he's going to win. And, oh, the race is dangerous. It's so dangerous. It's not, though. We know the character's going to be fine. Any danger, like, if you don't care, if you know the one character we even know anything about is going to be totally fine at the end of the race and he's going to win the race, then any danger in the race doesn't matter. Literally everyone else in the race could die in a fire and it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't change anything. I'm sorry, but one brief fight scene, one brief lightsaber fight in a freaking long Star Wars film, it just doesn't make a good movie. And when the rest is boring you to tears and making you less interested in a franchise overall, in the backstory of the characters, not just for the trilogy. Not only are you not excited to see episode 2 and episode 3, but it makes you like not interested for if they do like an episode 0.5 and episode 0 prior to the prequels or between the prequels and the original trilogy. It makes you care less about these characters' backstories because it makes Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon seem like morons. And it makes Yoda and the rest of the Jedi seem like morons for not just saying, hey dude, we're just gonna disband the Jedi if you're doing this. We're kicking you out of the Jedi Order for doing this. We're gonna murk you for doing this. It just makes them all seem so weak and pathetic. If you know for certainty or near certainty that Anakin is going to become this crazy genocidal space Hitler, you probably should kill space Hitler. And even if Yoda making that decision resulted in him and Samuel L. Jackson getting in a fight with Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson, even that would be cool. Do that. Oh my god. This movie is painful. It's long and it's boring and it's terrible. But one fight scene. I've literally heard people say, oh, but like Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman, though. Alright, if your argument for the original trilogy is but Natalie Portman, then okay, I'll listen to that if it's Natalie Portman in episode 2 or episode 3, but not episode 1. Look at her. Holy crap. Like, she at least, like, looks good in the other films. Gee. This movie, I feel like, gets so much undeserved credit nowadays, and it disgusts me. Number 2. Open Water from 2003. Lesser known film, but it got a theatrical release. Now, this movie is about a couple who's doing some scuba diving, and the boat leaves without them. They're stranded in open water. So, what you see here is probably what you see for about 80% of the movie. There's probably another 5% where they're doing the diving early on. Another 5% where there's a shark that's nearby, and maybe it's going to attack them. Who knows? Then the other remaining 10% is, instead of them being in the frame is just water. It's just the open water. It's not even the 2 pieces of poop floating in the water. Such a unbelievable level of boredom. It's impressive. Because not only is it one of the most boring movies you could ever watch, the least appealing to the eyes. Your eyes will somehow fall asleep before your brain does. But your brain is also as unsatisfied as your eyes. But the thing is, your brain can start imagining other things. You can start thinking about other movies, or your life, or your problems, or something funny. But your eyes, they're being abused. Number 1. Now this might shock you, but it's Disaster Movie from 2008. Disaster Movie is unwatchable. I tried to go with a lot of different genres in this list, and comedy is often the worst, as it's awkward. Every single time that a joke happens and it doesn't land, it's kind of worse than being bored. It just makes you cringe. It's just uncomfortable. There's a level of being uncomfortable sitting and being bored with something just simply being crappy or like uninteresting. But when it's actively bad and it's jokes that are just never landing, it's worse. And this movie machine guns you with that. Joke after joke after joke, and none of them land. I can't even watch this film. I've tried to watch this film 3 separate times, and I've never made it more than 15 minutes in. Because, like, look at what you're seeing on screen. This movie is called Disaster Movie. Now, it came out in a time where there was a ton of parody movies coming out because of the success of the Scary Movie franchise. So, studios decided, we're going to crank out these parody films. People like parodies, we're going crazy. This movie, though, they're not even parodying disaster films. Juno? High School Musical? Ella Enchanted? None of these are disaster films. So why are you doing it? No joke lands. It's torture. Don't watch this. It shouldn't exist. It's just a studio shoveling you a piece of poop. There's not even the shell of what could be a good movie, right? You watch Star Wars, you think, oh my god, I would do this differently. You watch almost any movie, you could think of like how to improve it. Or something similar that you wish you were watching. This one, it doesn't even do a good job at resembling the random things it's trying to parody. Right? Like some chick dressed like Juno doesn't even really make you think of Juno. Not really. If the character had more to it, if there was some kind of Juno plot, but instead it's a random Juno poorly done cosplay for no reason. And like a minute of poorly done High School Musical cosplay for a minute. I don't know how they could have made something this bad. Now, there's a lot of movies that almost made my list, especially considering comedies. Like, I considered Son of the Mask for this list very strongly because I think it meets a lot of criteria. It's what I'd call like a medium-sized production, right? It's a sequel to a successful comedy film. A comedy film that a lot of people have nostalgia for, that people enjoyed. I really like Jim Carrey's The Mask. So to have a sequel, I watched it. It sucked horribly. Like, this was something where they have actors that I recognize, and Jamie Kennedy and Alan Cumming, and it didn't have the production value of The Mask, but there's some production value into this, right? Like, there's CGIs. Some of these films, though, they're not really that, right? Like, The Room, I could not consider because it's way too experimental and it doesn't have enough of the framework of being an actual film, right? Like, I feel like it's very charitable to say that The Room is an actual movie. Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's also like very experimental and it's enjoyable because at least there's some actors and they're trying, and for the time period that it was filmed, you're going to be interested. Even though it's poorly shot, it's bad, it's terrible, it is one of the worst films ever made, there's entertainment value. You will probably be kind of entertained within your boredom watching Plan 9 from Outer Space. I certainly was. Madam Web, terrible. Shockingly terrible. But a lot of it comes down to the writing and the directing, but I would say it's only really bad. It's certainly really bad. There's some fun scenes. There's some fun stuff to look at. I wish they would utilize that more. The movie is completely disjointed and terrible. It's not like the ugliest thing ever made. There are far worse superhero films, which I literally put in my list. Fan Four Stick is way uglier, way stupider. At least in Madam Web, they go to a few different locations. At least the villain, in terms of what powers they have, are interesting. At least the team of Spider Women look interesting visually. You just can't realistically, if you were to put Madam Web below, say that it's worse than Fan Four Stick, that just doesn't really make any sense to me. And I think I would even maybe put some DCEU movies. Like, I'd maybe even put, like, Batman versus Superman. No, actually, I'd put that, like, slightly ahead of Madam Web, to be fair. Because at least, that's a terrible film, but at least it's got some good visuals. And then there's other sorts of bad films. Like, here I have Twilight New Moon. With all these shirtless guys. You might not know that's what this film is here in the middle. But all those shirtless native dudes, the reason they're shirtless is they're wrestling around. It's bizarre. It's insane. It's what's entertaining about the films. Why are they like some of the most homoerotic films you've ever seen? This is weird. This is like a romantic young adult love triangle story. Why do you have like a bunch of native shirtless dudes in one of the gayest scenes in film history? That's random. That's really weird. That's hilarious. Why do you have vampires playing baseball? Like, yes, Twilight and its sequel New Moon, and even Breaking Dawn Part 1 are 3 very bad movies, but they are infinitely entertaining to watch. You will laugh your ass off at how bad they are. The writing is so comically absurd. The fact that they even filmed some of the stuff. The fact that the stuff made it into a theatrical release is so bizarre that you're going to get some entertainment value. A vampire baseball made it to film. Edward giving Bella a C-section with his vampire teeth. He bites the baby out of her and gives her a styrofoam cup with a straw in it that he got from a gas station, fills that with blood, and Bella drinks it while he's giving her a vampire C-section. He's biting a baby out of her stomach. That's in a Twilight film. You can't not enjoy the crap out of watching that. You just can't, right? And Troll 2. another wonderful example. It's a bad movie, but it's one of the funniest, most enjoyable films in existence. I can't even begin to imagine anyone on this earth. That's my list of the top 10 worst films of all time.
Give it